Welcome to Sharing My Truth with Mel and Susie, the uncensored version, where we bear it all.
We do. Hello and welcome back to Sharing My Truth Pod. You're here with Mel and Susie, and we're here to say, don't forget to slay. I'm so sorry. Okay. Hey guys, you're here with Mel and Susie, and we're here to give you a friendly little reminder to hit the subscribe button on this little pod, put the little downloads on, give us a comment and a like on a YouTube, go to Share My Truth Pod on the Instas and the TikToks of the world, and you can go to sharemytruth.com even, and you know what you can do there, Mel?
Yeah,
you can go to sharemytruth.com and you can go and leave us a voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
Literally put your voice in mail, send it to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll listen to it.
We will.
And we'll talk about your problems. Not with anyone else, but we'll talk about them. And you can also send us an email.
Yeah.
If you don't,
DM.
if that's too hard. Or a DM. Yeah. So there's a couple ways to get in touch with us, get to know us. We want to get to know you.
We do.
How are you, babes?
Fabulously, amazingly wonderful.
Oh my God. Wow. What a treat.
It is.
What a treat it is to be with you here today.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm feeling the vibe.
You feeling the vibe?
I am. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad.
Good.
Perfect. Excellent. So good. The vibes are vibing. Maybe I had one too many glasses of rosé today.
We might have done.
Well, we have an episode.
We do.
And the episode Mel and I were talking about it. Because she has a lot of experience with this. Like a lot. And we want your advice, Mel. The people want your advice.
The people want my advice?
I want your advice.
Okay.
And this is something that I actually don't believe in per
Okay.
se. Like I don't believe it can work. So
Okay.
I'm very astounded to hear that this has worked for you.
Well, it's probably in a very no, I've actually done it several times, but yeah.
And she's not talking about an orgy.
No.
She's talking about a long distance relationship.
Or swinging. Talking about long distance relationships, yeah. I'd say I've definitely had a scenario where it didn't work at all and it was a really stupid idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you were too young?
Too young, really, unless you have very strong feelings for the person.
Yeah.
Or unless it's a strictly, well, that's not really a relationship. You get together, you do your thing. But, but then it's not a relationship. If it is if you're in a long distance relationship with somebody, you've really got to have strong feelings. You got to be in love and it's got to be worth it. Otherwise, what's the fucking point?
Exactly.
I mean, really, there is no point because it is very, very difficult. And I'd say the first time I was very young, I wasn't in love with the person and it was stupid and it didn't work. And we kind of broke up, got back together, but it didn't work. And of course it didn't work because it's just stupid. What's the point? I mean, there is no point. There are many fish in the sea and go and find a nicer fish, right? You don't need to be sticking with this person. And I think some people get stuck in long distance because they're terrified that if they kind of break away, then they're not going to find somebody else. And please don't think that. That's just nuts.
Mm-hmm.
It really is nuts because unless you're in love with the person, it's pointless. It's like, what's the point? Why are you doing it? The second time I was married to the man I'm still married to.
So you were already married to him and then it went long distance, or were you long distance while you were dating?
No, when we were married.
Right.
Yeah. Because for work reasons, and I know several of my friends where they've had to do this for more than a year. We were actually living in Switzerland, but at one point living in separate cities. So I was in one city with the children and he was in another city because he got another job. And he was traveling a lot anyway, so he wasn't even in that city very much. He was just away the entire week and sometimes the weekend too.
Yeah.
So away pretty much all the time.
Right.
And then we also had a long period where he just traveled all the time. And it caught, like Monday to Friday, literally. And my kids didn't really know their dad at all. They didn't, it's like, who's this guy?
That is so crazy.
Yeah, whereas compared to now, compared to the way
Oh my
they are with their
God.
dad now. And we did it purely because it was financially, it was worth it. It was kind of life-changing. And so we did it. And obviously, it's like anything. You don't know until you're in it.
Yeah, of course.
But we were married, so it's different. But it caused a huge amount of pressure on our relationship. Because what happens if you're in a long distance, maybe you don't have kids, you kind of get together and everything's amazing and vavavoomie and you have passionate sex and la 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 and all of that.
Sexy sex.
Right. And then there's no reality in your relationship, which is a big problem. So that then if you eventually come to live in the same place, it can be hugely problematic because suddenly then there's real life and then you just don't get along in a real scenario.
Yeah.
Because when you're long distance, it's a bit like the beginning of a relationship. There's like the outside world, you're in this sort of bubble kind of thing. Now we were married, so we were quite far into our marriage and stuff and had children and everything. And what happens is the person, he's working away, long hours, traveling a lot, comes back grumpy. You've had to sort of get on with and he admits this. I'm not saying this behind his back. I've got to get on. I was working. I had 2 children. And you have to just get on with your routine. And then it's almost like he comes home and it's like, oh, it's a bit annoying, really. Because you're like, I've got everything under control. I know what I'm doing. And you have to be very self-sufficient because I can't rely on him. So he would even come back at the weekend. I'd say, no, just don't do it because I need to do it myself. It's not helpful, right? And it just can cause a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. And it did.
Did you guys almost break up or anything like that? Or was it
No, it wasn't that. Not at all, no. But it caused a lot of arguments, I would say.
Yeah.
Because, also you got young children, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're at that sort of on each other's nerves kind of thing. But it puts a lot of pressure on a relationship. You've really got to think about it. But of course you don't know until you're in it. And if you're going to be in a long distance relationship, which many people are, like, people at university, maybe they're at different universities, or if you're in different jobs, or you start, what do you do? I mean, but I think the thing is, you have to really be in this. It has to be serious to really bother. You've got to be, it's just not worth it otherwise. I mean, I really don't see the point.
Yeah, I think a lot of, and it's so funny because if I ever tell someone that you've done this, that this was your life before, because they ask about you, obviously, and I'm sure you get this question a lot too, is that, people ask if Max has cheated on you.
Oh yeah, all the time.
And they'd ask me that. And I'm
I'm like, I've had that.
I'm like, yo, okay.
Yeah.
Max is literally, your husband's literally like, you guys are in love. Like you guys have that's never been a problem. But people cannot handle that's not a like, oh my God. And why is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question actually, because I've been asked many, many times,
which is so inappropriate.
It is inappropriate, and by friends, and it is inappropriate. I think in our case, people can look at you and specifically me and say, "Oh my God, you're so naive," and you're like, "No, I'm really not," because we also talk about it. So if a man or a woman had approached either of us, we would talk about it. Yeah. That's just kind of our
like best friends
relationship. No, we're just not gonna. And at the end of the day, you can call it whatever it is, but you have to have 100% trust. And it's never ever been an issue for either of us. We've never thought about it.
Yeah.
Lots of people have asked me many, many times, and I think it's because most people do. I mean,
of course they do.
Like a lot of Max's colleagues would say to him, "Oh, well, you travel so much, you can have a woman kind of, in wherever you're going."
Yeah.
And he was a little bit like, "What? What do you mean?" Like, I mean, he's like, "I don't want to do that. I've got a wife. I don't want to do that." And you may think, and maybe that is very unusual, and a lot of his colleagues, like senior colleagues, were all divorced because they'd all done that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why he was very put off. But he also, on a personal note, his parents have been married for like 57 years. They're very close. They do everything together. And so he has that as an example. I don't, but he does. So it's like, well, no, of course you can, what do you mean? He that's what he has in his head, really. So why do people think you're going to cheat? Because they just think, well, you can. Because at the end of the day, if you're spending or living most of your time apart, well, I wouldn't know what you were doing, would I?
No.
I mean, of course you could do it.
People can't handle that. Like women, especially, I think. Obviously, men are also can be like this, but women especially, I find that we want to be in control of a lot of things. And if our man is good looking or we know that he is a catch, then we're kind of like, okay, can where are you? Like, what are you doing? Who
Yeah.
are you seeing? And then if they're like, oh yeah, I'm with a colleague, and then they're like, there's a women colleague here, and the women are like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, it's
Yeah.
okay.
It's completely
If
okay.
you make it kind of crazy, then he's gonna want to cheat on you more.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
100%.
Or is that unfair?
And no, it's not unfair. And I've just, it's never been something that has perturbed me, ever. I've never thought about it.
Yeah.
I've never worried about it. And I think I'm not crazy like that. I don't know. Because I trust him and he trusts me. So I've never thought about it. I've never worried about it at all.
Do you guys have a conversation of like trust before it even happened? Or was it just kind of like, we trust each other because I know you and you know me? Like, how does that trust happen? People have such trust issues these days.
Yeah.
And I understand why. Obviously, like social media is a huge thing. There's a lot of other factors. But like, and I'm a very trusting person, but I'm also just I'm not a jealous person.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a mega jealous person either. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's a good question. Have we ever had a conversation about it? I don't think specifically. We just talked about, we laugh if somebody like approaches you or whatever. We would always mention it. And he would always mention it to me. And I think because as a couple, we kind of do a lot of things for each other. We're not like, well, you have to do this, and because you did that, then I have to do this. Or because you went away or went out for dinner with your friends, then I have to do this. We're not like that at all. We just do our thing. Like, I don't.
We just do.
Well, I do. Like, if I want to go out, I'm going, like tomorrow I'm going out with a friend. I don't ask Max. He doesn't ask me. He might say, oh, are we doing anything? And blah, blah, blah. And I'd say the same thing. Well, actually, he'd ask me because he has no idea.
Yeah.
I have
You're
the social
schedule.
calendar.
Yeah, of course.
He doesn't know. He just turns up. I just tell him where to turn up. But I don't worry about, if he goes on a boys' weekend. I don't worry about that either. It doesn't bother me. And I think if it bothers you and you have trust issues, you really have to figure out why you have those. And if it's the person that is creating them, I think you're with the wrong person.
100%.
Or you should be doing something else, or dating, or having many romances or whatever. But you're with the wrong person. If you have any questions about this, about trust, about the person, then what the hell are you doing? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I remember years and years ago, a friend of mine was getting married, and he was a bit of a naughty boy, to be fair. And I wasn't friends with his wife, but I got to know her. And he was going on what we call in England a stag weekend.
Yes, baby.
Which you call here in North America a bachelor party, right? Bachelor, yeah. And they were going to Amsterdam. So in Europe, like in England, you'll go to Amsterdam or Ibiza or something like that. And obviously they can get a bit wild,
Of course
especially,
they can.
And she was terrified. And she asked me, oh my God, they're going on, because Max went on this stag weekend. And she was saying to me, I'm really worried. I'm like, look, babes. If you're worried about this, you really shouldn't be married.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that. You can't have somebody out of your sight and you will drive yourself
Crazy.
insane. And I know that some people are more jealous than others, and I'm just not. Probably like you. Maybe I've never had cause to be jealous.
Yeah, I've always been like, if this man is gonna cheat on you,
oh, he's gonna do it.
He's gonna fucking do it.
I think that's probably what's in my head. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it. Whether, to be quite frank, whether they're away or in the same city.
Exactly.
I mean, unless even if you're living together, let's be honest. When you're at work, or you could be fucking anywhere.
Yeah.
Fucking. No, you
fucking
like that.
No, literally, like
so you don't.
It's just the way it is.
I think that's probably the answer. Very long-winded answer to your question is that you don't actually have to be in separate cities, countries, places to be cheating. You can cheat right under somebody's nose.
Yeah,
and the distance is not what's required. It's like you're going to do it for whatever myriad of reasons is going to happen, and whether you're you're in London and he's in New York,
It's
or
just going to happen if it's
you're
gonna
in London and
happen.
he's down the road, it's going to happen. So I suppose that's probably my thought process.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was asked all the time. I'm still asked about it.
Right.
And I find it kind of, I find it hilarious, actually.
Yeah. Well, you have to have a little bit of a sense of humor about it because it's like,
oh, yeah.
it's ridiculous to you and to Max, obviously.
Yeah, but it just doesn't worry me. It doesn't phase me. I never think about it ever. Never give it a moment's thought. But, going back to this whole thing about long distance, you've really got to be in it together for the same kind of reasons. I think you also, I mean, obviously it depends if you're early on in a relationship and you met and you sort of fell in love. And I think you do at some point fairly on have to figure out some path to how you're going to get to be in the same place.
Well, like, how do you even, I mean, I've never been in a true long distance relationship. The longest I was ever really apart from my last boyfriend was like 3 months, which was like a long time for us because we were literally together every day pretty much for the however long we were together. And like, so that was actually really hard. But I mean, how did, like, in those days when you didn't have FaceTime, did you?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, like you didn't have FaceTime, you didn't have really any of, you had phones, obviously.
Little
like
Nokia.
little Nokias.
You call them Nokias, we call them Nokias. Little, you could, mobile
you
phones.
call
but
each
that's it.
other.
Yeah, that was it.
And like, what else? Like, how do you keep the love alive during that?
Well, with 2 young kids, that's probably not the main focus.
Right. Okay.
One was a baby. But, well, I don't know. What did people do? That's a very good question. But there was no, I mean, I guess if you were having phone sex, it was just your voices.
Were you having phone sex, Mel?
No, I didn't have time. I wasn't sleeping, Susie.
Mel, you weren't even like a little bit of phone sex?
At that point in my life, I don't think so, really, because I just had 2 tiny kids. And also, he was continuously, like, I was living in the French-speaking part of Switzerland, and he was technically in Zurich, but he would be the whole week somewhere else. So he would, like, literally be Monday in New York, Wednesday in Costa Rica, Friday, and I mean, literally, and then the next week he'd be in Nigeria, and then he'd in all over Africa, and then next week he'd be somewhere else. So it wasn't like even you could, because you were on such separate time zones. I literally didn't have a lot of contact from Monday to Friday. And I remember once he'd been away literally Monday, came back Friday night, and I hadn't slept all week because my oldest daughter didn't like sleeping until she was 2.5. Bit like you, Susie, you talked to your parents. And he literally opened the door, and I looked like just dreadful. Like I'd been dragged through a hedge backwards, or like I just look awful. I mean, I still would get up and put makeup on and everything, but I was just so pale, so tired. And he just walked through the door and just sort of went, "Here you go." I just gave him the baby.
Oh my God, that's
sleep.
so funny.
Because I just couldn't. It was just like, oh my God, I have not slept Monday to Friday a single night at all.
I mean, that's extremely hard for a young mum.
Yeah,
but
it's very common.
Did you have a nanny?
I did, because I was working.
Yeah.
I had my own business.
Yeah.
So I had a nanny 9 to 5, and that's, I'm not, sugarcoating that. That's a huge privilege. But I was working. I worked.
Hey,
and
I'm all for a fucking nanny. If you can
for the nanny.
get a nanny, get a nanny.
Yeah. But
like, women don't have to do it all themselves.
But not in the night and not the weekends. I had somebody,
have like a wet nurse or something.
Yeah, I basically had somebody that helped me during the day so I could work 9 to 5. And then when I had my second daughter, I did have what we call in England, because I don't have a good relationship with my mum, so I had a maternity nurse. So I literally paid for somebody to help me through the nights, because I didn't have a mum or an aunt or anybody coming to see me, and I didn't have Max wasn't there. So I just had somebody, so to help me a little bit in the night.
Were you ever like,
but I had to pay through, you have to pay through the nose, right?
Yeah, of course.
But I worked and paid for it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Max could have paid for it if he wanted to, though.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we don't really,
it wasn't like that.
We don't really operate like that, because we share our money, as it were. But what I'm saying is I was making the money to pay.
Yeah. You were able to do that still.
Yeah, and we were very lucky. I'm not.
No.
It was in that respect, it wasn't a financial drain. But yeah, I mean, it's hard when the other partner, and I have a lot of empathy for men or for women who, particularly today, are raising children, and they both are working very long hours, and it's really hard. Really hard to then actually have a relationship. after you've worked, after you've, is very, very difficult. But I mean, that's got absolutely nothing to do with long distance. But long distance, I just think at some point in the thing, and I know this happens to a lot of people, is they're in the long distance and they sort of have these meetups. And of course, like I said, it's all fantastic because you shut the outside world out and you do these amazing things or whatever. And then there's a point where you're gonna somebody's got to move, or somebody's got to, otherwise it's not really a relationship, is it? If it's
No.
a thing where you're getting together a couple of times a year and you find that fun, it's like a long distance
That's not a
booty call.
relationship.
That's not a
That's not
relationship.
a relationship.
And go ahead and do that if that's what you want to do. But a relationship cannot, in my humble opinion, survive long term doing that. I know lots of people who've done it for many, many years.
Yeah.
And mostly it's because of money, because it's financially beneficial. But it's really hard on both of you. And I don't think you realize until afterwards what it does to the relationship.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, like, he was making the bulk of the money. That's why you were moving and doing all these things.
Yeah.
And then but even like still, because you had to take care of the kids and you were still working. And that's really fucking hard, especially just taking care of kids in general. Like for me, like I can't even imagine that by myself. Like, are there like times you're just like, I fucking hate this guy, I can't believe what he did to me, kind of thing, of just like thoughts of like, oh my God, I want to get out, or just like
no. I mean, I would say, getting on each other's nerves and you're fucking annoying me. And coming home and saying, it's actually one of the reasons the way I raised my kids has worked so well, because sort of at the beginning when he was away a lot, and if he would come back and say something, it'd just be like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I've been here Monday to Friday, 24 hours a day, in some cases literally up large parts of the night. I'm going to do this any way I fucking can to survive, right? And you can't tell me that this, that, and the other. And we decided very early on in our relationship that I had the casting what do you call that, casting vote with regards to the kids. So everything to do with the children and the raising of the children, I have the final decision. I mean, that's everything even now. And he will say his opinion, but he will never, if I say this is what we're doing, he'll say okay. And that we decided that early on.
What is his final vote? Like, what is?
Well, he doesn't get one
For anything?
with
like
the children.
No. But what's it like? Is he have like the final vote on like all the finances in the relationship, or is he just like, you're kind of like, no, I deal with everything?
No, I mean, we talk about things definitely, but no, we talk about that we take a mutual decision. I probably am a little bit bossy, but we take a mutual decision.
Supposed to be self-aware, Mel.
Yeah. we take mutually, but he generally says to me his favorite phrase is whatever you want, which is a pretty good phrase.
Gorgeous. I love it.
And he's pretty good, to be fair. But with the kids, he is now very involved. He doesn't travel as much. Recent years hasn't had to travel as much, and is much more in control of when he travels. But with the children, it's my decision. Whatever it is, like I'm the buck stops with me.
Yeah, baby. As it should. You know the kids. The kids know you the best.
Yeah.
You know what's best for them.
Yeah.
Just the way it is.
Like, so I make the decision because I'm here all the time.
Yeah.
I'm the one who, and I decided that, and I'm not in any way, and I know that for some women that doesn't work, and I was able to have I'm able to have my own business and function, being here all the time. I've managed to do that, and it has not been easy, and it sort of goes, there've been ups and downs and difficult moments and all the rest of it, but I've chosen that path. So I've got to live with that.
Yeah. And
I know for some people that's either not possible or very difficult or whatever it is. But again, going back to long distance relationship.
Yeah. So what kind of advice would you give a long distance person today, dealing with all the stuff they have to deal with? Right.
I mean, I guess it depends what point in the relationship you're at. If it's very early days and you're still getting to know each other, the weird thing is if you're long distance, it'll take you a lot longer to get to know each other. And the thing is have you ever had a period of time when you've actually been together for a long period and then you've gone long distance? Because of course then the other worry is how well do you really know each other in all the areas of your life? Because when you sort of see somebody for a weekend or something, you're sort of very well behaved isn't the right word, but you're on your you're trying to not be annoying, basically.
Yeah. And also you
Trying
got
to-
everything waxed. You're ready for it.
Yeah, you're
you know,
exactly. He's
you're
not going to
totally
see you
put
in your
together.
schlubby whatever.
Maybe bought a new outfit.
Yeah.
He's never seen you in the same outfit twice.
Exactly. You're not sort of in your curlers with your face mask on and your disgusting PJs on. You're comfy sort of, I'm watching.
You're yourself.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's like you're always going to put something on.
It's a performance.
If it's really
to
long
to a
distance.
degree, which is fair enough. I think my only advice would be, how long is this going to be long distance? At a certain point, you're going to have to make a judgment call. If this going on for years and years and years, if you're in love with this person, there's kind of got to be an end goal. And if you are in love and you want to be together, I'm sorry, but one of you is going to have to make the sacrifice. And I know that that's hard for people. Like, when I moved away, when my husband was working, I had my own business and I was able, this is very early days before people were working from home much and online and stuff, and I was sort of right at the beginning with that, so I could move with him. But that wasn't an easy decision, but I took the decision for the greater good of all of us. And lots of women tend to have to do that. I don't think people appreciate that, especially if husbands get good jobs and they follow them. They just think, oh, you're following the husband around the world. No, they're actually making a sacrifice for the greater good of their family.
Yeah.
But if you want to be together and say, you live in New York and he lives in LA, at some point somebody's got to move to New York or LA.
Yeah.
And
if you want to be serious, unless you're like literally going to see each other every week for a week.
Yeah.
Like,
and that can only really go on for so long.
Unless you're billionaires.
But even then it's so draining. Like, you think, oh yeah, wouldn't it be great? I mean, I know one of my friends he's a pilot and he travels all over the world, and his wife lives in the UK. And even that, like, going away for these long periods and coming back, it's really draining.
Yeah.
So this kind of endlessly traveling long distances, even if you are in your private jet, which obviously I never was, but it's never know, still got time. It's very tiring, and you're taking out huge chunks of your life, and so at some point somebody's going to have to say, okay, I'm going to move, or we're just going to, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
you have to know the end time.
I'm not sure that you can know that, but I think you have to bear in mind.
You have to make a plan.
You have to make a plan. Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's something that can go on forever. And somebody can send me a story and contradict me completely. But from my personal point of view, I don't think it's a long-term thing.
Yeah.
It's too difficult.
I know.
And also, if you're in a relationship, you are in real life. Right? And all those pieces of real life, even the sort of mundane, boring bits, make up your relationship. Like the morning you sit and enjoy just having a cup of coffee together and having a chat. Or at the end of the day, you have dinner together. And maybe in my case, my husband loves cooking. He finds it very relaxing. I find it very stressful. So he likes to cook. And it's a kind of really nice end to the day. And I do all the clearing up. That doesn't bother me. That's the way we've kind of figured it out. But it's those moments, and it's just a meal or a cup of coffee, or you go for a walk, or they're really important.
Yeah.
And if you don't live in the same place, you're not going to get any of those.
It's honestly, I mean, that just kind of reminded me, like, I have a lot of best friends who are long distance. Like, I don't live in the same city with like most of my closest friends.
Right.
Just because I've lived a bunch of places in Canada, and like, everyone moves around obviously at this age, and
you grew up somewhere else.
You grew up somewhere else. Like, exactly. So I have like one of my best friends lives in Vancouver. Like, I have another best friend in Edmonton, some in Calgary. Like, there's just all these places that I'm like, I'm not going to go to all these places all the time.
You can't.
And it's so hard to keep that relationship and talk to them every day because they have their own life. And it's just like, if you have any kind of long distance best friend relationship, it's 10 times harder if you're doing it with a romantic partner.
Oh, 100%.
Like, and I haven't kept most of my long distance friendships because I'm just like, it's fucking exhausting. Unless I'm in the city and we're not talking, we're not hanging out. And that's not just because I don't love you. It's just because I literally just don't have the energy to do this.
Yeah, and life, I mean, I guess that's one area where personally I had a little bit of background in that, in the sense that I've moved a lot. I'm in a think I've lived in 7 countries.
Yeah.
I was born in a different country to where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
So I was used to moving around, and I went to high school in one country, university in another country. I've moved around a lot, so I have friends in lots of different places, and it's which has its own kind of stresses. So I'm used to trying to keep up with people,
Mm-hmm.
but I have like really great friends in the UK and also other parts of the world where obviously I don't see them on a weekly basis, and you have to accept that their life moves on. You kind of reconnect and you see each other, and you have to make the effort. If you're the one who's sort of gone away, you have to make the effort if you want the relationship. And it's then you've got to make the effort when you go back to see them. And of course, their life moves on, and you've got to kind of accept that your life's moved on. You've done a bunch of different things, and you have to accept that. And I think that's a problem with long distance relationships, is you're not doing the everyday shit together. Like, like we were talking about, like going out. You're not going out. Let's say it's Friday night, you go to have a meal, and then you go to a bar for some drink. Well, you're not doing shit like that. Or you're not, like, I don't know, going to the movies. Do people go to the movies anymore?
No.
You're not going. Let's say you need to buy furniture or something boring. You're not going out to do that together.
Yeah.
You're not doing all those things, are you? Or like, oh, let's meet for a quick lunch together. You can't do any of those things. And I think at the beginning, it's probably very exciting that you sort of have this long, and then you see each other and it's kind of fireworks. And obviously, on a sexual level, it's pent up, and then it's like, boom, explosive. And I can imagine that can be. I wasn't in that scenario. Like I said, I had 2 young children. I was absolutely knackered. But
so no fucking. A little bit of fucking.
A little bit, but not a lot. Not a lot of energy. Like anybody who has young children has energy to do that is where I commend you. But it that kind of wears thin.
Yeah.
It gets like, oh God, I just and then there's the issue of like, you just want to be yourself. Like it's Friday night. Maybe let's stay in and watch some TV and have a takeout and blah blah, and not wear our amazing frilly French nighties.
Oh yeah.
And I just like to wear my Gap 15-year-old track pants. You know what I mean? And be together. Those moments I think are hard if you don't have them. So yeah, I guess my only advice is have some kind of idea of a game plan, because
if you love this person, then you're gonna make it work. If you guys are in love and you guys are determined to just be in love and 100%. Make it work, but you can't be jealess.
No.
You can't be
you gotta
weird,
trust them.
and you gotta have trust.
Yeah, and not like, where are they? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Like texting, like, oh, for fuck's sake, they live in a different place. They could be doing anything,
literally anything.
And you know what? If you don't trust them, don't be in a relationship.
No, that's
really
fucking,
that's
exactly.
Simple. And there's nothing complicated. There's nothing convoluted. That's it. If you don't trust them, you shouldn't be in the relationship.
Absolutely. And then there's also, so many things that you can like use for sex now, like 100%. FaceTime fucking. You guys can do like, those vibrators that like hit across the world because they're a part of an app.
Yeah, do they actually work?
Yes,
they work at that distance.
They work long distance. Sex toys are a real thing, and you can send them to your partner, and it's 100%. Kind of sexy and cute.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do
to keep the love alive.
We're in a different world in that respect.
Yeah, and Mel could do it fucking 15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. You can do it now if you really want to.
Yeah, you've got all the friggin'
bits and bobs.
All the bits and bobs, and you've got like a lot of like I'm not so sure about FaceTime because it belongs to Meta, but like actually so does WhatsApp. But you could use something like Telegram, all these other like so you're not getting your data and they've caught your porn movie and then they sell it to I'm not imagining.
Does WhatsApp do that? Sell your porn movies?
No, I don't think they do.
It's possible.
But there is some kind of setting, because every time I'm in WhatsApp, and nobody uses it in North America, they use it in Europe, and it says something like blah 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 privacy and whatever. I'm not sending porn movies to anybody, so it doesn't matter. But it's
not
like,
yet, Mel. Maybe you
not
will.
Yet. You never know.
The feeds are coming out.
Oh yeah,
Mel's
feet finder.
Mel's feet finder.
So this is I would like somebody who is an SEO feet finder person to tell me how my feet finder profile can get to the top.
That's all we need.
That's all I need. I want to make millions from my dodgy feet.
Love it.
Yeah. They cost me a fortune, my feet. So
Love that arthritis.
yeah,
So sexy.
I love it. I really do. But
Well,
that's
Max
it.
obviously loved it. Yeah.
That's all I've got,
That's
really.
honestly perfect. If you guys are in any kind of long distance relationship, maybe you're just in another city, another country, another continent.
Yeah.
You guys let us know. How do you guys deal with this?
Yeah.
What is it that you guys deal with that makes it so that hopefully you guys can keep it working, keep it sexy?
Yeah. Or if you're in a situation where you've been doing it for a while and the doubts are creeping in,
Not the jealousy, not the doubts. We want to hear from you.
or
We wanna
you're like,
support
this
you.
isn't worth it,
Yeah,
we would like to know.
of course.
But, be strong. Like, don't be so hung up on, there's lots of people in the world.
If
for
it's gonna
goodness
work,
sake.
it's gonna
gonna
work.
work. Yeah. Like, go out and, in our previous episode, go out to a bar and go up to a guy and buy him a drink.
Fuck
You never
yeah.
know. That could be a new
Arrgh.
thing. And then he lives in the same city. Well, he might not. Let's
Hopefully.
hope he does.
Oh my God.
Maybe that
please.
should be a question.
Yeah, where
do you live here? Then you
Where do
look
you
like a
live?
maniac.
They're like, I'm not telling you my address.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's it. From us.
yeah, let us know if you guys have anything you want to chat with us about long distance relationships. We would love to hear with you.
We would.
Okay.
Bye.
See you next week.
Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast and follow us on social at Sharing My Truth Pod, and leave us a voicemail on our website, sharingmytruth.com, to share your stories and experiences with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.